Hey everyone, this is Dr. Steve Orma, and today I'm going to answer a question from a viewer. This question comes from Michael Tao or Thao. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Michael's question is, hi, doctor, I'm 53 and I can't sleep more than 6 hours a night. The sleep doctor says this is not insomnia but normal and 6 hours is enough. Is this considered insomnia to you? The first thing here that I want to address is the concept of normal. And is normal really the best way to think about this question? Because I don't think that it is. Because normal for you, for example, might be that for, let's say, a lot of your life, or maybe over the last several years, you've only slept 6 hours. And that is what's normal, meaning that's the norm for you. Another way that people think about this is they look out into the population and they look at, well, what are most other people sleeping? Oh, well, I see that most other people are sleeping 6 hours or 7 hours or whatever it is. Well, therefore, that's what's normal. So then that means I should be sleeping that. Okay. Now, the problem with this question is what's normal isn't always, and many times isn't, what is actually healthy and optimal for a lot of different things, in particular health. So for example, if you look at the population of the United States, just that's where I live, if you look just within that, 70% currently in the United States, 70% of people that live in the United States are overweight or obese. So what's normal as an American right now is to be overweight or obese. But would I say that is healthy or optimal for Americans or for individuals? No, I would not say that because, there's all kinds of health risks and in negative ways that weight affects the person's life. So you don't want to kind of look out into the world and see what other people are doing to determine what you should be doing in regards to your sleep or how much sleep you should be getting, because most people are actually not getting enough sleep and they're sleep deprived. And this is whether they have insomnia or not, people are not getting enough sleep. So you don't want to look out and try to figure out what's the norm here, or even what the sleep doctor is saying is normal for him. The way you want to answer this question is what is healthy and optimal for you. And what's healthy and optimal for you, it is going to be different than someone else because our bodies are different, our biologies are different, and our requirements are different. And therefore, like what we require for sleep and the amount that we need in terms of hours is going to be different for each person. Just like the diet, the optimal or healthy diet or number of calories that a person should be eating is not going to be the same for every person. A 12-year-old boy is going to be eating different than, a 77-year-old woman. Okay. They have different bodies. They have different requirements in terms of diet and nutrition. So when you think about sleep, it's the same thing. And what you want to do is figure out how to, what is optimal and healthy for you. Okay. And I'm going to go over that in a minute on how you would determine that. But that's the very important point here is you don't want to go by those standards. Okay. Now I will say before we go over how you figure this out is that most people in my experience require somewhere between 7 to 8 hours of quantity of sleep on average for them to have healthy, optimal sleep. Now, and that's also been done not just with my experience working with my clients, but in studies with many, many other people, is they found that is somewhere, it's within that range. And why is that? It's because the body goes through all kinds of processes when you're sleeping. So when you're sleeping, your mind isn't, and your brain isn't just relaxed and not active. It's extremely active and goes through, as it goes through the different sleep stages, it's doing all kinds of things in your body for repair, for all kinds of different things it needs to do to process certain things so you can function really well. And that requires enough sleep to be able to go through all those processes. Okay, so really most people need between 7 and 8. Now, a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh yeah, I only need 6 hours or 6.5 hours or 5 hours. But what they usually mean by that is they can function on that. They can get by. They've adapted to that amount of sleep. But that's different than are they getting the optimal amount of sleep? So a person could function on eating, Twinkies and Big Macs every day. Like you can survive a long time eating that way, and you can function and you can get through the day. But is that optimal and healthy for your body? Probably not. Okay. So how do you determine then what is optimal and healthy for you? Well, there's a few questions. So like the very easy first question to figure this out is to ask are you waking up to an alarm? If you're waking up to an alarm in the morning because, you have to get up for work or for whatever reason, but the alarm is waking you out of your sleep, you're not getting enough sleep. Okay? Because you're in the middle of sleep. You're in the middle of a sleep cycle when the alarm wakes you up. And that means that if the alarm hadn't gone off, you could have slept longer. And your body, when it gets enough sleep, it gets enough quantity of sleep, will naturally wake up. And it'll be difficult for you to fall back to sleep because your body has gotten what it's needed. So if you're waking up to an alarm, you're not getting enough sleep. Okay, second is opportunity, what's called sleep opportunity. And this is where most people these days are not getting enough sleep. It's not insomnia that they're experiencing. They're not giving themselves enough time in the bed to be able to sleep as long as they need to sleep. So they might only be giving themselves a 6-hour window or a 6.5-hour window from the time they get into bed and turn the lights out to the time their alarm goes off in the morning. They're giving themselves like a window that's too small. And again, this is not people who are going through insomnia and going through the treatment that I've described here, where we do deliberately limit the amount of time you're in bed. But we don't keep it there, right? The goal is to extend that over time to find the optimal length. So if you're not giving yourself enough opportunity to sleep, then you may not be getting enough quantity of sleep because you're not giving yourself the time to simply do it, right? If your body needs, let's say 7 hours to 8 hours, but you're only giving yourself 6 hours in the bed each night, then you're not getting enough. Very likely you're not getting enough sleep. Okay. Then the third thing here is, let's assume that you're giving yourself the opportunity to sleep. So you're giving yourself a large enough sleep window, and then you're sleeping through, that window with a good sleep efficiency, and you're waking up naturally before the alarm, or you don't need an alarm. Then what you do once you get to that point, this is once someone gets past insomnia, this is what we figure out with them is, okay, now that you're past the insomnia, what is your optimal length of sleep? Because we don't keep making the sleep window bigger and bigger and bigger. At a certain point, we figure out what is that sweet spot for that person, and that is the optimal length of sleep that they need. And as I said, what I found is somewhere between 7 to 8 hours for most people. Okay, but the only way you will determine that for your individual body is by first getting past insomnia, if it's there, so you have a normal sleep pattern. But then once you have a consistent pattern of sleep, you're giving yourself enough time to sleep, and you're tracking that sleep at least over a week. I would say at least a few weeks, and then you get the average amount of time that you're sleeping. That will tell you basically the average amount of time of sleep that you need. It's going to be within a certain range. So for example, for me, I need around 7.5 hours of sleep on average for my optimal length of sleep. Now, some nights I sleep less. Some nights I sleep like 7 or even like in the high 6s. Some nights I sleep 8 or even a little more than that. But it averages out to be somewhere around 7.5 hours. And I determine that following this process. And that's what I help my clients to do once they're past insomnia. Now, this is what you need to do, Michael, if you really want to figure out, is 6 hours enough for you? You can't just go by the number or what's the norm or what's the average or what the sleep doctor is doing for his sleep. You have to find out what's right for your individual body. And this is like a really good way and the best way to figure it out. The last thing that I want to add here is this is a question about quantity of sleep, right? How many hours should I be getting? And most people focus on this as the only thing or the most important thing about sleep. Am I getting enough sleep? I should be getting 8 hours, or I should be getting X number of hours. And all the focus is on the quantity of the sleep. But there's two other things that are really important to have healthy, optimal sleep, and that is quality of sleep, and that is consistency of sleep. Okay, these are the three things that I believe, that I found are the most important. Quality of sleep is how deep and restful and full that sleep is. Are you going through all your cycles of sleep and all the stages of sleep? And is that sleep deep and restful and full and not interrupted and not, fragmented where you're waking up a lot? It's quality sleep that allows you to get that full rest and recovery, and you wake up feeling that kind of refreshed feeling. Okay, that's quality. That's as important as the quantity. And then the third one is the consistency, right? Meaning that you want this to be consistent on most nights over the course of your life. Now, you're never going to have perfect sleep every night and it's going to be optimal all the time, but we want that as consistently as possible, because if you're getting the quantity and the quality, but you're only getting them 2 or 3 nights a week, and then the rest of the week you're not sleeping that well, that's not going to be so good. You're not going to feel so good, and it's not going to be optimal for your health. All three of these things are important: the quantity, the quality, and the consistency. All right, so I hope that gives you some helpful tips and leads on how you can assess your own sleep here. And if you found this video helpful and informative, just press the like button to let me know. You can also subscribe to the channel. I do one of these videos every Tuesday and Thursday, so 2 a week, and you'll get notified when I do that. And then if you have a question here like Michael did, or a comment about the videos, just type that below in the comment section. I read all the comments and the questions. And if you have a question like this that I think would be good for a video, then I might do another video just for you. All right, so I hope that was helpful for you today, and I will see you next time.